Hey guys, it's me, Hello Raybun, or Raybun here. And today we're gonna be looking at something new, something different. More so than my usual something new, something different, where it's just one game. But more of a concept slash idea that you guys may be interested in, because I don't think you can really make a video on what I'm going to be talking about by its lonesome without it being incredibly boring. Um, that said, uh, today's video is about idle games. More specifically, um, 10 idle games that are either recent additions to what I've played and experienced, or idle games that have left a big enough impression on me that even though I haven't played them in a while, uh, I still really enjoy them to the point that I didn't forget about them. So these are roughly like you could call them like a top 10-ish list. But realistically speaking, a lot of these are games that I've played recently and I've really enjoyed, rather than, oh, when I think back, this is definitely one of the top 10 games I've ever played in the idle genre. And the reason for this video is I recently posted in, I don't remember which video, but I had a clip of Legends of Idleon, which is an idle game, an idle MMO. And I thought it'd be interesting if you guys could join me in it. Um, but when I did that, I realized, I don't know if I talk about this a lot, but I almost always have an idle game running. Usually just one. I'm not too crazy about having like 15 running at once. But I usually always have one running in the background, whether it be on stream, day to day, whatever. I usually have one running. I really like seeing numbers go up. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world. I could not tell you why. It's one of the reasons that MapleStory has and probably will forever continue to be one of my favorite MMOs, is because you get ridiculous damage numbers. Um, but enough about that. Let's start talking about each of the idle games. And what I'll be doing is I'll be doing it in an incognito tab. So presumably I have no cookies, therefore my data isn't saved, and it's a fresh profile. And we'll be talking about them just kind of at the start of the game and what they're about and all that. It should be relatively short, but I'm just letting you guys know about all these. I'm sure some of these you guys will know about, but maybe some of these you guys won't know about. Or maybe this entire thing is kind of a new thing to you guys. Um, Speaking of which, I should probably go about what idle games are all about. I touched briefly on it when I said that numbers go up, but very roughly, an idle game is a game that you play while not requiring lots of active input. Usually, they'll have some form of active input you can put in to speed them up or help out. But eventually, this is either negligent. That's not the right word, I don't think, but it doesn't matter. Um, or they are, still somewhat significant depending on the game and the developer and all that. Basically, in these games, you'll have some sort of concept that you need to finish, or sometimes there really is no concept. And a lot of them you collect items, buildings, heroes, people, whatever, and you play through and you basically see numbers go up. If you have a settlement, you'll see yourself collecting resources, food, and all this stuff. Then you use those resources to build buildings, which house more people to get more resources. A lot of games in the idle genre are exponential like this. Um, I'll be talking about each and every one of these individual games, and maybe that'll paint a better picture. I've never been the best at describing things straight up, but that's kind of what we're talking about today. So, with all of that being said, um, we'll delve into the 10 games that I'd like to talk about today. So, I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first and foremost, we've got Click Apocalypse 2, which is a game that I played some many years ago and really enjoyed. It's a really nice game, I think, to have on a second monitor. Definitely enjoyable, definitely kind of unique feeling, and really fun. I'm gonna try to be brief and not go over every single little tiny thing, and just kind of talk about uh, the general gameplay and move on to the next one. That's because otherwise I could talk about each and every one of these games for a very long time, and I could play them for a very long time because I enjoy each and every one of them so very much. So on this first screen, when you start up the game, by the way, to find Click Apocalypse 2, this is on a web thing. I just have it full screened. You can just search Click Apocalypse 2, and the link is minmaxia.com/C2, which means Click Apocalypse 2. There is a Click Apocalypse 1. I don't think I've ever played it. I probably should look into that at some point, but I really enjoy Click Apocalypse 2. So, the first screen you see is you select 4 party members. They can be the same party member. For example, you can have 4 fighters, or you can go with just a singular standalone fighter. You can pick other characters up, such as the priest, maybe the druid, and the rogue. You can name each and every one of these characters as well. So if you wanted to name this guy French Fry the second, okay, never mind, that's too long. You'll just use an II to indicate he is the second. That's French Fry the second, our fighter. Really nice guy, stand-up guy, right? You assemble your party and you start the adventure. With this particular game, there's little to no user, I don't know, input. You can do stuff like pop scrolls or potions to cause temporary effects. They're really going for our priest here. But essentially, as you play through the game, you'll be collecting gold, kills, and EXP to buy upgrades, and you'll encounter loot like this. And in which case, it'll always suggest to equip if it's better, otherwise it doesn't suggest to equip. So you'll want to check in and equip new items every once in a while, and level up characters with the XP you get. The other thing you can do is buy upgrades with kills, and you can also level up each of your characters. Now right here, it doesn't seem like level up does a lot, but in a second, you'll probably be overwhelmed by all the stuff that goes on each character's screen. Right here is all of their stats, which is important if you want to look at all the stats, see what they're doing, what what they bring to the party, and all that stuff. And then you can also see their inventory, which is what they're wearing, as well as their skills. The skills that they have go up as they level up. You can't buy these with points or anything, but as they level up, like you'll see our druid has a point right now because they start with one. As they level up, you can pick up 10% armor bonus, ignore 10% of enemy damage, and all this stuff, and eventually fill in all of this. But these are each unique to each person, so you'll see Priest unlocks heal at their first level up, and then they can get all these other buffs. So let's level up Kronos, since we're talking about it, and we can pick up any of these. But obviously, we probably want heal, because heal sounds super nice. And for our druid, we'll unlock the wolf pack so that we can start using wolves. But essentially, these are just skills you can unlock as you level them up. Every single character has these, and some of them have really nice effects, such as detect treasure chest and automatic loot it. I mean, there's just really nice stuff. Anywho, if you get too many item upgrades because you're looking at other stuff, you'll get this button, which equips everything that's new that's really good. And as you can see here, we have a scroll. So I'll go ahead and use it. And as you saw, it fired in this lightning bolt from out here and helped out our party. So that's pretty much the extent of input that you can put in. So the goal of this game is it's either dungeons or castles. I think it's castles. You eventually take on all of these castles, which are signified by these little crowns on the map. And you beat each and every one of them and then you've officially won the game. The other way you may want to consider winning the game is going through all of these achievements, all 328 of them. I don't think I ever got all of the achievements, but I got pretty close. I think I did get all the castles cleared, and afterwards you can always play again with a new party and stuff like that. Um, there's also dungeons, um, which I believe these are unlocked once you've beaten a castle. Technically, we're in a castle right now. Once we beat it, we can spend 100 gold, and then it farms it, I think, infinitely. But yeah, there's a lot going on here, and a lot of stuff to do in this game, and it's a really good kind of semi-visual thing you can throw up on your screen on the side and enjoy. We just got a 25% speed potion. We can level up French Fry the Second. I think he deserves it. So we can go ahead and grab, geez, I don't know, the armor bonus. But yeah, that's all there is to Click Apocalypse 2. I see I've already spoken for 6.5 minutes. I probably shouldn't talk anymore. But yeah, right here, you can see there's a weapon rack in this room. I have to actually click this to loot it. Otherwise, it won't get looted by my people automatically. That's why thieves are really good. And we got an achievement. Nice. But yeah, that's Click Apocalypse 2. I hope you maybe get some enjoyment out of it, just like I did. In fact, I probably am going to start leaving this up in my other window because I've really enjoyed this. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this game. And let's move on to the next one. You may have seen this in the tab, the last one. However, this is Synergism, a game that recently turned 1 year old. 1 year old. But this game is something that starts off super simple and gets overwhelmingly complex and adds all these new features as you go along. I wouldn't say overwhelmingly, actually. But the cool thing about this game is it always expands upon itself. The game dev does frequent updates, and it's an adventure going through this game. At some point, I think I kind of semi-burned out on it, and I haven't played it for probably like 2-ish months now. But all the time I got out of enjoyment from it is, I don't know, I got so much enjoyment in this game. So I'd like to show it off to you guys because I really enjoyed it. So it starts off with a really simple screen because you only have two things you can do. You can buy upgrades and you have buildings. And you can buy a worker because you start with 100 coins. Workers generate coins every single second for you, and you can amass tons of them. At some point in the game, you will get enough workers that you can get a building that produces workers. Once you get that, you're going to be generating a lot more coins because you're generating coins faster and faster every single second. And that's kind of the base template for this game. You'll see here that our first upgrade costs 1.0 e to the 6 coins, which is quite a lot of coins. So we're not going to be able to get this in this video, or get that in this video. But I will be showing off my Synergism save. Not to say, ooh, it's the best thing ever, because it's not. But I am pretty far into the game, and maybe you can see the amount of complexity that the game evolves into over time. But for right now, all of our input is just clicking one button, which takes some time to get over. For a lot of people, this may be, this is taking too long, and they may drop the game now. But very shortly, I believe, it could be crazy. Maybe we need to save up 1,000 coins, because I'm pretty sure that's what it'll cost. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So now we've unlocked investments and accelerators. So if we go ahead and buy an investment, you'll see, oh no, these generate coins. Okay, I'm misremembering the start of the game because it's been so long. But you'll see here the coins per second of this is equal to the coins per second for this. This is approximately, or really exactly, 10 times faster than a worker. So as long as it's not 10 times the cost, you can effectively buy an investment for the same output. So essentially, as long as our workers are less than 300 coins right now, we buy workers. Otherwise, we buy investments. Accelerators are a unique building that once you've bought them, you gain acceleration, which I thought there was a visual display up here for it. Why did I think that? But these essentially accelerate the game by 10%, which is why they cost so much. So as you buy them, you get 10% and it stacks. So 10% of 10% of, or 10% of 110%, and then 10% of 121%. etc. dot dot dot. This is pretty much not all that interesting to look at. So really quickly, I'll be back with my Synergism save. So this is the chaos that goes on my Synergism save. As you can see, we've got a lot more tabs up here, a lot bigger numbers. Our upgrades tab is full and being repurchased all the time because of automatic ascensions and rebirths and stuff. There's achievements here, which all give special stuff. You've got runes, challenges, research you can do, anthill, which is some sort of progression thing that probably won't make sense if I try to explain it to you guys. WoW cubes, corruption, which is specific to each run to make it harder, settings, and a shop where you can spend stuff to get permanent upgrades. I'd have a really hard time explaining all this stuff to you very bluntly, or in a way that you guys would understand. But as you can see in buildings, we've got coin buildings, diamond buildings, mythos buildings, particle buildings, and terrasec buildings, which are the most recent buildings I've unlocked. As you go through the game, if you know idle games, you'll know there's usually a prestige layer. You hit really far into the game, you prestige, then you're faster the second time around, or maybe you get something that's really significant. One thing that Synergism does is it has layers upon layers of prestige. So I think diamond buildings are something you can get in the first one, but maybe I'm completely, I mean, I could be completely wrong. I thought coins and diamonds are one same layer, but they may not be. And then you get mythos and particles and terrasect. But all of these have significant influence over the game, and there's a lot going on here, which is why I can't really do a good job of explaining it. Anywho, that was Synergism, and I'd recommend you give it a try if you don't mind user interfaces being not the absolute top of the line. I kind of like it. It's charming. It's got lots of numbers. I like numbers, and it's really a really enjoyable game. Next is a wonderful game called Swarm Sim. Swarm Sim is also hosted on a website, but it's just swarmsim.com. The first thing I recommend you doing is going to more and then options and changing your theme to some dark theme because I cannot stand light themes. But essentially, Swarm Sim is a colony simulator, kind of like an ant simulator, but it gets way more levels than an ant colony has. This is because Swarm Sim is more about lots of other stuff. So you can click on each one of your units in each respective tab to see what they're doing for you. These are kind of resources. We've got 35 meat. We've got 0 drones. Drones produce meat every single second, but to hatch them, you need to spend meat in larvae. When you hatch them, however, drones give you, this meat per second. So you'll see our meat starts going up, and eventually we purchase more drones, and then we get more and more meat production. Larvae are the children of your swarm. Um, they're basically the resource requirement to get any unit. As in an ant colony, you need a larva to grow up to become an ant, or a fighting ant, or potentially a queen. You need larvae to produce units in your swarm. So larva speed is very important, and you can get upgrades here like the hatchery to increase how many larvae you get per second, or you can get an expansion which gives you a 10% production multiplier. Similarly, once you have enough drones, you can get upgrades for them as well, but right now we can't really do that. And as you'll see, we're quickly producing more meat than larvae in terms of requirements for the drones. One thing to note about this is you'll run yourself dry in terms of larvae if you keep down this path. So I'd recommend eventually splitting off of it. But right here you can buy faster drones, which doubles your drone speed, which means once we've purchased this, which we will because we have more than twice it the cost, we essentially have 160 drones now because that's 2 times 80. So if we hatch a few more drones, we're quickly up to over 200 drones technically, and we can buy a queen, which costs 100 drones to produce. How this works is kind of for each layer of increments, you're gonna have to spend these units to get these units, but they produce those units. So as you'll see, once we buy our queen, we may have no drones, so our meat production goes really, really dry. But our drone production is automated now and requires no larvae expenditure, which is really, really valuable. The other thing is you'll see these little up arrows whenever you can upgrade something. Since we're producing tons of meat now, we can get our hatchery to produce way more larvae. And we can't do expansions yet because we're not fighting anything. But this game is a simple kind of text, but really nice UI display of your colony's statistics and what you have and all that stuff. Definitely one of my favorites of all time. And in fact, I'm not sure if it's by the same developers or not, but you can definitely get this game on Steam and on mobile, but it looks a lot different than this. It's got a nice little graphical interface with visual representations of each and every unit. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also a different game. It deviates from this one in terms of, I believe, some of the stuff, and I think for me personally, I like the original more. But also the other one has its own merit and lots of stuff going on. With that being said, I think we'll call it quits here after buying this queen upgrade and noting how fast we're spawning drones out. As you can see, we can get to the point that we are just blowing drones out of thin air, and you can watch the meat production numbers go way, way up. But that's part of the fun of this. Oh, we unlocked territory. Okay, we can talk about this too. These are your warriors who go and they fight things, and they generate territory every single second. So if I hatch 36 swarmlings really quick, we start generating territory. We have 15 of it, so we can start buying expansions. Expansions usually will go up in tons. You'll usually buy a lot of military units, and they'll just fly up for a second. But that's the main source of them. The other thing you can do here is buy twin swarmlings, because you can only purchase attacking units uh, with your meat and larvae, and you can't actually purchase them and then get something that spawns them in. These upgrades are vital because right now, as you can see, I can hatch 92. If I buy all these upgrades, now every single time it goes up, I can get 4 per piece of meat, literally, that I'm spending. And we can get way more bang for our buck here to get more and more territory, to get more and more larvae upgrades, which then in turn produces, we're producing tons of larvae per second, which means we can afford to buy twin drones here and hatch tons of these guys, grab a whole ton of queens, and then our production of drones is through the roof. And it kind of builds upon itself like this. As you can see, our next nest will cost 1,000 queens. Similarly, the number above this one, or the entity above this one, will cost 10,000 nests, and so on and so forth. This game has a lot of potential, but no real UI elements similar to Synergism. So I don't know if it'll be up everyone's alley, but definitely one I really enjoy. The numbers and progression are phenomenal, and I mean, quite honestly, they're a lot of fun. I played this one back when I played it for probably upwards of a year. I got a lot of time out of it, and I really, really enjoy this one. All right, here's the next game. Don't mind the background, but this is NGU Idle. Definitely, the one thing that I will say about this is definitely top 3 idle games I've ever played. I've gotten many, many hours out of this, and I have never, ever reached the end game. I would love to at some point, but every single time I get close, I get distracted by something else. I forget about this inevitably, and then I stop progressing in it. This is actually another save I started up on this computer for the Steam purposes. I figured it'd be fun to start anew rather than pull my save from GitHub since I kind of forgot about everything. But it's been quite a while since I've touched this as well, as you can see. We'll go through it all kind of haphazardly. That's not the word I want. But we'll go over all of it slowly but surely and talk about each and everything. So we've got basic training, which essentially is something you put points into, which raises your attack, which lets you fight bosses. And then you've got adventure. This is a separate attack, which is why it's called power and toughness rather than attack or something. And in this one, you sit in a zone and you fight enemies and produce items in your inventory, which mine is completely clogged right now because I've been away for so long, which you can equip on your character to increase their toughness and other stats, such as this one does energy and magic power, magic cap, and magic bars. A rough explanation of those is how powerful are the things you put magic into, what's your maximum magic cap, and how fast does this fill up. Because at the start of your game, you have to fill this up in order to fully use it. So you may have 10,000 energy, but at the start you only have 1 you can allocate. Then some time passes, you have 2, etc. There's tons of other stuff like augmentations, which increase your attack/defense multiplier, which is used in, I think it's the fight boss one. And then advanced training, which this affects your adventure stuff, the time machine, which increases the rate at which time goes by, blood magic, which is something you put some stuff into, and it'll pay you out upgrades such as whatever you choose in the spell. Wandoos, which is like a meme on Windows, right? and eventually you can get to the point that this costs 1. As it boots up, it gets faster and faster, and you get tons of stuff from this. NGUs, which are permanent upgrades. I mean, really, there's a lot going on here. Nothing will make sense really until you experience it all for yourself, because this game does a really good job of, you start off with something very simple, then you get something to work with that, and then you get something else to do, and something related to that, these two at the same time. Money pit you can toss your money into and do these spins to get extra stuff. Augmentations, you unlock stuff to affect your game as you go, and then you rebirth once you hit a point at which you can no longer go through, and it'll give you a higher number and some other stuff, and eventually with that you can get tons of EXP from farming bosses and stuff to upgrade stats just exponentially and get tons of stuff unlocked. I don't know how to do justice talking about this because there's so much going on and so much you unlock. But this is really, really a wonderful game, and you can get countless hours out of this one. It's always fun learning about the new stuff and playing around with it and figuring out what you want to do with it. But yeah, just in general, great game. Highly recommend. I can't do it justice by talking about it, so if you're interested in playing a really cool idle game, I definitely recommend giving this one a go. It may be a little bit overwhelming at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. This little ball of chaos you're witnessing is Leaf Blower Revolution. I've just booted it up after the update, and I quite honestly have to readjust to all the leaves. Well, no, the leaves look the same. The science looks different, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm not too familiar with. I just bought the latest leaf blower so I can leaf blow like no other. Oh, I still don't have my robots showing, huh? Let me check my settings really quick. I had to turn off a lot of this visual stuff because it was actually affecting my computer. Right click Let's Play, use alternative fonts. Oh, okay, there they go. Alright, so this little ball of chaos, if you will, is Leaf Blower Revolution. And as you play Leaf Blower Revolution, you collect more and more different types of leaves, get all these different upgrades, and it's a lot of fun. It starts off very simple with just your hands to push around the leaves. Eventually you get rakes and stuff, and it goes much better. And as you go through it, you're going to unlock more and more upgrades. I will note that this one is one of the ones that I've really enjoyed lately, mainly because of the concept, the execution, all that stuff. But I'll also say I hit quite a few walls when I was playing through this one, and because of that, I can't say this is like one of my top games ever, but it's a really cool concept, and there was recently a big update, so the walls may have been adjusted, and stuff may feel a little bit nicer now. There's lots of stuff to do in this game. I think I probably played it for maybe a month or so before I got everything. I don't remember. But around the time that I reached the supposed end game when I first played, a new end game was released. And supposedly, there's a new end game on top of that end game now. So there's lots of stuff to do in this game. It's definitely one of the most visually appealing idle games that is out there, which is one of the reasons I included in this list, because all idle games are different and appreciable for different reasons. But yeah, definitely one that I enjoy. I don't have too much to say about it. As you go through, you'll unlock upgrades based on the leaves. You spend money on them, and the leaves become worth more, or they spawn more, or they make apples, or whatever. which in turn gets you more leaves, and that's kind of the entire reason the entire game. You're just amassing leaves to buy upgrades, to prestige, to continue onward, and that's what you'll be doing the entire time. Definitely not a bad thing that you're doing that the entire time. It's a lot of fun, but very repetitive in my opinion, but really visually appealing. And that's why this is on here. I don't want to talk about this one too much because I've talked a lot on the other ones. So just in general, I'm be trying to talk a little bit faster now. So that's all I have to say about Leaf Blower Revolution. You can find this on Steam. Definitely recommend you try it out. It's free and a really good game. This little game is called Prosperity, and it's a wonder. I believe you can find this online, but I know they launched on Steam, and I haven't checked online since. I did buy it because I wanted to support them, and I really enjoyed the game. But this game's really cool because it's a colony simulator where you have to acquire food and materials for your colony and allocate your citizens properly. Otherwise, you're going to end up running out of one or another resource. As you go through, you unlock new things. And I believe later on, I'm not very far in this save because I started playing it a few days ago because I was kind of missing it. Eventually, you unlock stuff where you can fight with other nations and stuff like that. It has some sort of story to it, and I should probably pause this because I'm not actually playing currently. But it's got a pretty nice visual interface. It is a lot of text and numbers, but a lot of the stuff that you go through is, I mean, I can't do it justice right now, but it's definitely a really expansive game, and it does cost some money on Steam, but it's something worth checking out. I would say if the web version's available, maybe you check it out there. If you really like it, you can support the developer by buying it on Steam. Genuinely one I really enjoy. Also a very interesting take on an idle game because you don't see a lot that are completely like this and executed with some degree of realism. A lot of idle games are more so about there's not too much realism going on, and I'd say this more loosely falls under the genre of incremental than idle game, purely because there are so many decisions to make and things to watch over that you may be looking at this a little bit more often than you would want to with an idle game, and that's because of the layer of realism that this game has, which is something that makes it very fresh and unique from the others. Definitely something that I really enjoy, and I've gotten probably not as many hours out of this as I have with other games, but that's specifically because it's not idle. If I compared the active hours I've put into Prosperity compared to the active hours I've put into other games, it'd probably be up there with them. But when I played something like Synergism for a year, I spend maybe like 2 to 3, maybe 4 days of actual time playing it during that. So that's Prosperity. I'm not really going over everything completely, but maybe I'll talk about it a little bit more. You get buildings that, like here, you can get buildings for food, like the Gatherer's Hut. And once you have Gatherer's Huts, it opens up slots for Gatherers, which you can then assign, which then produce stuff. I believe it shows down somewhere. Like for Hunter, you can see produce per batch, they produce meat, they produce fur, and other things. It says what's consumed and all that stuff, and over here you can see how much food is left, how many days of food that essentially is, what kind of clothes and stuff you have. And really there's just a lot to do here. My UI is really simple right now, and that's because this is a new save, and so there's not a lot of resources and stuff unlocked yet. Later on, you can get a lot more stuff going on, and I'd definitely say it's worth the money, in my personal opinion. But I would go try it out for free if you can still. and see if you like it first. Definitely a good one. I really enjoy Prosperity. This is Tower of Hero. Tower of Hero is a mobile game. I'm playing it via an emulator currently, so I can show it to you guys. And I'm hoping it kind of runs smoothly. Okay, yeah, it wasn't running smoothly. But in Tower Hero, you have heroes, soldiers, items, and a shop. It's very simple, and you can spawn in units, and it's lagging a little bit right here. But as you can see, we have a cap of 5 heroes, so I can spawn those in really quick. And they'll all go and fight this guy. Whenever they make contact with him, they take damage. Oh, geez, yeah, this is really laggy for whatever reason. And then they move on to the next floor. And it is a quite literal tower of heroes, supposedly, where you infinitely push higher and higher up the tower. The idle aspect of this game are the soldiers, which cost some amount of money. But once you get them, they're going to automatically spawn in and push up the tower for you, whereas heroes themselves require active gameplay to spawn them in. You can buy upgrades for them in this tab, and you can buy upgrades for your soldiers, or really, you can just buy the soldiers in that tab. These upgrades are definitely worth it for the heroes early on, because they're going to be a little lackluster at the start. But later on, you can see we can easily clear floor 2 now, and push higher. And eventually, we get enough money that we're able to purchase soldiers, which will then push for us and unlock new stuff. Unfortunately, it'll take a little bit more time, so I'll mention items here. Items are things you get out of chests for milestones within the tower. You keep them when you restart, and they affect stuff like how much damage your heroes do and stuff. You'll see that these swordsmen are a lot more powerful than our heroes, but we can't manually spawn these in. So they come every so often, and they'll hit stuff and gather money for us, but we can't actively influence their spawn time. So these guys spawn every 6 seconds. Archers come out every second, or 7. I think this is the knight. Maybe I'm wrong. But once you get these guys, they'll run semi-idle and progress throughout the day. I'd like to talk more about this one, but there's not too much complexity to it. It's got a nice little interface, and it's a lot of fun unlocking items and getting bonuses and pushing higher and higher up the tower. There are, I believe, time challenges later on in the game where you can try to push as far as you can. I think it's every day or every week. And depending on how well you do, you get a certain amount of items from it, or gems, which is the pay-to-win currency. But as you go on, you unlock more and more stuff, and more stuff goes on, and it's really a nice. I think it's a really nice game, and I've had lots of fun with it. So as you can see, we're slowly getting better and better, and able to push further and further in the tower. And that's basically how this game works. It's on Android and iOS, I can tell you that much. But it will heat up your phone because there's a lot of calculations and renderings going on behind the scenes. So I don't know how wise it is to just leave this on your phone. But I don't think there's offline gains. So realistically, you have to if you want to make progress. But yeah, that's it for this one. And I hope I covered it well enough. I really do enjoy this one too. Definitely my favorite idle game on mobile, for sure. This is Soda Dungeon 2. Or not 2, 1. This is Soda Dungeon 1. And Soda Dungeon is a game where you build a party. That's a lot of flashing, huh? It's a game where you build a party of adventurers and push through the game to get further and further along, getting items to equip with your adventurers with, and upgrades in town to help you out, as well as relics, which will help out all your adventurers. That's pretty much all this game is. It was originally a Flash game on Armor Games, I believe, but it's also on Steam, and there's a second one as well. I have a lot more experience in the first one, which is why I'm talking about the first one, but the second one definitely shows promise, and I have been enjoying it as well. But yeah, this game's a lot of fun. Definitely something to check out and learn. Not too much to say here. It's a very simple game, and a lot of fun. But yeah, there's not too much to cover here. You'll do runs, and you just plow through and get further. Do runs afterwards, getting the new items, and go further, and that's all it is. Genuinely a really good game though, and I really do enjoy it. This flashing screen is really bothering me, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next game for your guys' eyes' sake as well. This is Evolve Idle, which is a game on GitHub. It's hosted on GitHub, and it's all about the evolution of a species. So at first you have to manually click to create RNA, but later on you can get upgrades like organelles, which produce RNA automatically, and I'm going to go ahead and use an auto clicker for this. Oh. My auto clicker doesn't seem to be working, but basically when you go through this, you're going to form tons of DNA and buy upgrades, and eventually you get past this stage and you get to select a species. I believe you get to pick between plant, fungus, and mammal, or animal maybe. And depending on what you pick, you get specific traits and stuff. And once you beat the game, you can, well, not beat it, once you get far enough into your run, you can rebirth or ascend. I'm not sure exactly what it's called in this game, and you get to go through this stage again, pick a new species. However, you inherit, or you can choose to inherit, a trait from your last species. There's tons of species in this game. In fact, I believe I'll have to show you guys the interface for. I'll have to show you guys the wiki. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll show you the wiki, and then I'll do a lot better job explaining all the complexity that is this game for you guys. So this is the Evolve Incremental Wikipedia, and species. Let's just look at races. These are all the different races you can run into, and they all have different stuff. Like, let's look at the Drachnid. They're lightweight bones, so the structures cost less to build. Crafting material production costs more. Hoarders, they get extra money in their bank storage. And they're solitary, which means they don't like living with others, so houses cost more, I believe, is what this is saying. Or basic housing costs less, medium housing costs more, because they prefer to be alone. Every single race has unique characteristics. As you can see, when I first played through, I got the cacti. So mine were hyper. The game speed is increased by 5%, but they were skittish, which means morale gets lowered by thunderstorms. And because they are a plant, I believe. No, they're sappy, spongy, tons of other stuff. You have amber instead of stone, which is produced by your citizens automatically, and the gameplay kind of changes a little bit based on each and every race. These are all the traits kind of spelled out for you. These are all the different things that the races inherit. And then there's structures. All this stuff that goes on there's space travel and technological advancements, and there's just a lot. There's a lot going on in this game. Quite honestly, I don't know why / when I stopped playing it, but I'm sure it was something similar to NGU Idle, where I just got distracted by something else and never came back. Definitely a good one. A little bit on the slower side, I would argue. But if you're actively checking up on it and doing updates every like few hours or so, you should be able to go through it pretty fast. I really recommend Evolve Idle for anyone who wants a more complicated game that has a lot of, I believe, depth to it. I've never gotten to the super late game, but definitely a really good one for you to try. This one's interesting too. This one's called Prestige Tree, and it's an idle game with prestige stages like a tree. So I can reset here, generate 1 point every second. Once I have 10 points, I can reset for 1 prestige point. And eventually, once I reach enough points, which are what's generated every single second, I can get boosters or generators. I get to pick between the two of them because it's a prestige tree. And once I've made my decision, then I can move on with that tree and get its bonuses and stuff like that. I'll be going through the gameplay just a little bit here really fast. There's nothing really I can do to exponentially increase the rate at which we're progressing. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to get at least the first layer of prestige done in a fairly quick manner. I don't think there's any more upgrades for us to get here, but prestige points do increase our speed at which we get points. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a few of these really quick, and then we'll move on with point generation. It's becoming somewhat diminishing returns, so we'll do it here. All right, 40 points, 50 points, 60 points, 70 points. And these two do different things, by the way. Boosters, I believe, are more for active play. I could be wrong, and generators are more for idle play. Let's do boosters. Generators, yeah. So generators increase point generation, and these generate. Good question. So 2 times point generation. So now you'll see we're generating 2.20 per second with boosters, and we unlocked this next branch that we can go down in this prestige tree. This one is like your standard idle game, but the layers that it builds upon are really cool. The other thing about this is I believe there's a bunch of spin-offs, like there's a virus one and some other ones that I've seen. So if you really enjoy this type of game, you can go check out the spin-offs as well to experience it again, which is always a nice thing. But yeah, this is the last idle game I'm going to cover. That is on a web server. There's one more I want to cover, and that is the one I previously mentioned, so I'll show you guys that in a second. But yeah, definitely Prestige Tree is worth checking out, and I hope you enjoy it if you do check it out. There are definitely some times where you hit walls and you have to rethink things, and sometimes it gets a little hard because there's so many layers to the tree you have to check to see where the walls hit. But other than that, it's a really fun game, and it does have an end to it, and I have reached it. I think some people can reach it. I think I saw somewhere that someone did it in like 37 minutes. I think my playthrough took me like a week. But yeah, it's a really good one. Here it is, my current idle game, Legends of Idleon. I saw this on Reddit when I was looking for new idle games to play, and it said it was an idle MMO, which is like my dream to be able to play this with other people. So I checked it out. It reminds me a lot of like the birth child of MapleStory and RuneScape kind of put together. I haven't played a lot of RuneScape, and I'm purely basing that off of the fact that there's skills that you can do. This one's really interesting though because it's based on a multiple character dynamic where you have different characters doing different things, which then help each other via producing materials to craft new things for whatever. So you'll have some guy that's specialized in mining because mining takes forever to level up. And so you have him specialized in mining, so he's producing ores for you, and your main character can be out going fighting monsters, and your other characters can be out wood chopping or something. And because of this dynamic, it's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun. Definitely a little more on the active side, but not so much so. I'd say as you play along, you get to take longer and longer deviations from the game. Like right now, my usual window that I check up on it is around every 6-ish hours. And originally it was something like every like hour or 30 minutes or something. At the start, I was definitely playing probably actively, I would say, because I was just constantly looking at it. But it's a lot of fun. You collect items to equip your character with. You've got talents to level up, which are kind of like skills, but they're also really just stat boosts. You've got classes with subclasses. You've got guilds. You've got a map with worlds to explore, and the third world is coming out on May 22nd, supposedly, is the estimated time of arrival. But this one's a lot of fun, and I'm not sure how exactly the MMO content goes in terms of whatever. I know if you double click on someone, I don't know if I can do it with myself. There is a party button, so supposedly there will be parties, and you can fight bosses together and stuff like that. There are also bosses in this game to fight. Um, but genuinely, it's a really fun game. You can play it actively. If I turn off auto, I can say, oh, attack this guy, use this skill when it's off cooldown. I can move my character over here, tell him to face this way, use the skill, stuff like that. You can do that. You can leave it on idle. One thing I will tell you is you should definitely check out the options menu if you start playing this game, because a lot of these you may be interested in, such as use your attacks, which cost mana, during auto. If you don't enable this, you won't use your skills during auto. Some other stuff like show guild names and other things are really important. And I'd like to formally invite you if you would like to come and join my guild gadget. I know it's been a little bit buggy. It's been a bit buggy with my one friend that's playing with me in our very lonely guild, good old ATEC. Um, when I accepted his guild request, it wasn't adding him to the guild. I don't know why. But eventually he got in. This is actually his miner here. Eventually he got in. So what I'll be doing is if you apply to the guild, I'll go ahead and add you as a friend and then hit accept. So if the invite doesn't go through, at least I have your username so I can try to invite you via this, which is ultimately what worked for him, but it went to his miner, which is why this is his display character in the guild. At some point, I may have to kick him to fix that or something. I don't really know how it works, but ultimately, if you guys would like to join the guild, it'd be great for all of us. Although, realistically, it'd probably be better for you guys to join a bigger guild because you get more guild skills out of it. The advantage of joining my guild, really, there is none other than you get to grow up with the guild, since ATEC is maybe 4 days into the game, and I'm somewhere around a week and a half. When this video goes live, those will both be incremented by about a week. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get to collect items, you get to do quests, you get to, do stuff, but you get to kind of play it as relaxed as you want. And I think it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited for all of the new world, although I probably won't get there for a while. My progress has definitely slowed down, but I've been playing a lot less actively, so maybe that's why. I haven't really been thoroughly exploring each and every part of the game. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. And if you do enjoy it, feel free to join the guild or apply to it or whatever. and we can all play through this wonderful game together. That'd be really cool for me. So, um, oh, by the way, I kind of didn't mention this, but the reason that joining another guild would probably be more beneficial to you is there are bonuses. Right now, we have something that adds almost 3 to all stats, but not quite. And there's tons of other stuff. But essentially, if you join another guild, you'll get access to more of this stuff because they've been building up for a very long time. However, if you join our guild, you can work on, you know, work on this with us. And I think if you right click, I don't know if I can do it. There's a way to say what bonus you want, which is this thing over here, so that you can say, oh, I want more stat runes. And then I can look at that and say, oh, everyone wants stat runes. Let's level up stat runes and stuff like that. Anywho, I don't want to talk about this too much. I really enjoy this game right now, and I could definitely talk for a very long time. But definitely give it a shot if you like idle games, or if you want to just try one out. This is, I think it's a pretty easy one to get into, and it's a lot of fun for a lot of people that like stuff like MMO RPG-esque. So definitely worth giving a shot if you're interested. And if you do enjoy it, feel free to join Gadget. I'd more than happy to accept you into the guild's loving arms. And that's it for me in terms of idle games. This video probably ended up being really long, and I'm sorry about that. But I hope you guys enjoyed and have some knowledge about idle games that maybe you'd be interested in playing. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.